Well, I was born and raised in Indiana, and was a scientist because of my father, who was a science teacher. And I entered into medicine because it was the most wonderful application of biology to the world that I knew. And I found my way into pathology because I didn't have to let go of anything. You know, if I had been a pediatrician, I would have had to give up adults, and if I had been a gynecologist, I would have had to give up the medicine of men. But for me, it was a way to see everything interesting about pathology, and cytopathology was the answer to a biologist's dream, because you have to put the clinical presentation together with the patient, and it's a wonderful way to facilitate best care for the patient, and it's the most interesting area of medicine that there is. I can't say more than that about cytopathology.
So what drew you to the cytopathology specialty of pathology? How did you discover it?
Well, I had a very fabulous cytology experience when I was in residency, and it was during the 70s, and well, actually 80s, I like to claim. And fine needle biopsy was just first becoming widely used in the States, and the director of cytology was a maverick at the time, and he did his own fine needles. So it was a way as a pathologist to see patients, to come to a diagnosis rapidly with little morbidity, and to me, looking at under the microscope at these wonderful things and coming up with the answer for the patient right away was very satisfying and fun to do.
Yeah. So do you have an interesting case or situation that you encountered on the FNAs that has stuck with you during your career?
There's been an awful lot of wonderful cases that I've seen, good cases, sad cases. I think one of the most fun things I ever did was I used to give workshops with our breast mammographer, and we both would come to meetings and talk about the radiology and the pathology. And I think we're the only two women who were lactating at the time. We were talking about lactating adenomas.
Oh, funny. So what do you like best about being a cytopathologist?
I think I really like helping the patients. What I like to do is, what I like best about it is you're taking such a small sample and coming up with something that will have an effect on a patient's life forever. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the reason that I went into medicine to begin with, was to take the parts of patients, the smallest parts, the cells, and come up with a diagnosis that they could be treated for or not treated for, and it's just very satisfying. So that's what I like best.
So what has been the most rewarding thing that's happened to you in cytology in your career?
Well, that's very hard to say. I've certainly been honored to be involved in many professional societies, and I think that that has been a wonderful experience. But I think I like to take it back to the patient. I remember one of the most poignant situations was I was seeing a woman who had a breast mass, and this was many years ago. She had a breast mass, and the mammographer was trying to aspirate it and couldn't aspirate it. So she came to our clinic, and I was able to place the needle correctly and took out 15 to 20 milliliters of perfectly yellow, benign-looking cyst fluid. And she burst into tears because she was so relieved. And you know, that was such a wonderful moment that I could have that that I could be there for her and do that. She didn't have to be shuttled around, she didn't have to be going to surgery, and that to me was one of the pinnacles of my professional life, was being able to set that patient's mind at ease at that moment. Never forget that.
That's great. So we're celebrating our 60th anniversary at the 2012 meeting for the ASC. Do you have a memory from the ASC that you would like to share?
Well, I've been to an awful lot of ASC meetings, so I have many memories. But the first meeting I ever went to, I was presenting, interestingly enough, a poster session or a platform presentation on adequacy of fine needle biopsies. And I was very nervous. I was out in the hallway, and before I gave my platform, I came on. And the platform was written by myself and two men. It was Anne, Michael, and Fred. And the person who was moderating the platforms got up to the microphone, and he read my title, read the authors, looked at me and said, "And you are?" And the audience burst into laughter. And I said, "Dr. Moriarty." Anne, Michael, Fred, okay. That's a humor. I like humor situations.
So, Anne, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us? I know you're an artist and you bring a lot of your art into your practice. Do you have anything else to share with us today?
Well, I think I hear a lot of people say, "I don't have an artistic bone in my body," and I really would like to challenge people. I'm an artist. I do steel sculpture. I'm learning wood, and I do painting and jewelry. I would challenge them to think about this. I think that all scientists are artists, because if you think about the scientific method, we observe, we look around, we ask a question, we put together something to solve that question, then we talk about it and reflect. And that's what an artist does. They look at the world, they become inspired, they find a method or a way to do it, and they create this object, and then they sit back and contemplate. And it's more about the self-education than anything else. So I think all scientists are artists, and I think there's wonderful multimedia artists in our cytopathology community.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and sharing your story.
I'm happy to do so.